What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So Hogwarts Legacy got an update a couple of days ago on April 17th, bringing with it XESS 2 for Intel, but you need Intel hardware to use that, which I did a claw video for, and it works great there with Intel's frame generation. And we also have FSR 3 implementation here, bringing AMD's frame generation upscaling to Hogwarts Legacy as well. So it's working on all of my AMD handhelds here, from the Legion Go to the Alli X to the Steam Deck here. So I wanted to take a really quick look at all of these running the update just to make sure frame generation's there, it's working, and you guys can tweak and change everything to how you want it. Now the settings on the Legion Go here, where we'll start, I'm just on FSR 3 balance. We have the new frame gen turned on, no cap on the frame rate, and just low settings with medium textures. Now the Legion Go does have some more frame rate drops and stutters than the other devices, but this has always kind of been the case for me with this game. I'm not sure if it more has to do with the amount of RAM or driver issues, but I do have it sometimes. Other times it will run just fine. But anyways, here, running through the game with frame generation on, it actually works pretty well. Typically, we would be in the 40s for the most part, except areas where we might lose some performance moving around the world. And with frame generation on, we seem to bounce anywhere from 60-something all the way up into the mid-80s or even higher, depending on where we're at. Input latency still feels pretty good. You're always going to have a little bit of additional stuff, and on the Legion Go here I can tell a bit as well, but the anti-latency feature is turned on in game as well, which helps a little bit, and I really didn't have too much trouble with it here. The worst thing is when you get those stutter or frame rate drops that happen from time to time. When that doesn't happen though, things feel pretty good here on the Legion Go as far as the new update goes, and it's nice to see in-game frame generation making its way over. Now, over on the ROG Alli X, things run really well. Same settings here as far as FSR 3 on balance, and we have the new frame generation from AMD there, uncapped on the frame rate. Same low settings and medium on the textures. Now, none of this is recommended settings for any of these devices. It's just what I happen to be on to test this stuff out here. Now, just like over on the Legion Go, we are running the factory drivers, the OEM GPU drivers, but on the Alli X, and I think it more maybe to do with the RAM or maybe just the way they worked on the drivers or a combination of both, I get a lot less frame rate drops and stutters and issues with this game on the Alli X. I did prior to this update as well. It just ran better, and with this update with frame gen on and all that, FSR 3, it still continues to run a little bit better than my Legion Go and just smoother overall with more consistency. And I think you can probably see that even though the frame time line isn't super accurate here, the way it reads things, you can see the difference between the two devices and how this one is much more stable, even if it doesn't always get as high a FPS, if that makes sense in the game here. But yeah, overall this update's also running well here, so I think pretty much any of these AMD devices you have that you might be running this new update on and you want to check out frame generation, you really shouldn't have too much trouble, and things might even run better for you if you're running some newer side-loaded drivers maybe instead of the older OEM drivers we have here. They are about 4 or 5 months behind now between the Go and Alli X. But over here on the Steam Deck, we are running that 800p FSR 3 balanced and the new AMD frame gen turned on here, uncapped frame rate. And of course, if you are going to run frame generation on the Steam Deck, typically you want to turn your GPU clock onto manual at 1600 megahertz. That's going to make the frame generation run better for you since it keeps the GPU maxed out, and just typically will run better that way. And then I've just got the low preset on. You can certainly have things higher for this game, but just because that's the way I jumped in here to check out frame gen. Plus, you want as high a base frame rate as you can get with frame generation, typically 60 FPS or higher. But with these handhelds, we often use frame generation with 30 to 40, 30 to 50 FPS, and it does help us out. Sometimes it feels great and works great, sometimes it doesn't. Without frame gen in the same area, we're able to get into the 40s or 50s for the most part, and then with frame gen, we're basically sitting around those 70s or 80s depending, which just can be a funky spot to run here, which is why I wanted to sit here and check it out, because it is an area that has frame rate drops and dips and things like that. But overall, frame generation working pretty well here on the deck for the most part with this. Some games it just doesn't work at all or work well. It's kind of a game-to-game thing when they have this AMD in-game frame gen as to how good it will or won't work on the Steam Deck. And this one actually is working pretty well. I was pretty impressed with how it felt. No real big complaints about input latency, just like the Alli X, it felt fine. The Legion Go, whatever, it felt fine on here as well. I think for a single-player campaign game like this that's pretty forgiving, frame generation is really not too bad. So if you want to jump in and give it a try on any of the devices and see how it works out for you, it's there now. It's nice to see them continuing to update this game and bring the new features over. XESS is also working really well if you have an Intel device like the Claw 8. And yeah, so enjoy the update, guys. As always, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.